Well, good morning and welcome to the Grow Omaha Show. Glad that you have joined us on this midwinter morning. I'm Jeff Beals from NAI NP Dodge Commercial Real Estate. That's Omaha's premier commercial real estate firm serving Nebraska and Iowa. And we're also brought to you by D&M Roofing, top-notch residential and commercial roofing contractors serving the entire metropolitan area. Well, my co-host Trenton Magid has the weekend off. We let him take a break every once in a while, and in his stead, we ably have a competent substitute, our own colleague, Brian Hartman from NAI NP Dodge. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me back, and I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you back, too, and you've been a guest co-host on this show many, many times, but I was looking at the calendar. As coincidence would have it, it's been right about 1 year. So it doesn't feel that long since you've been on the show, does it?
No, it doesn't. Interesting why Trenton is always on vacation in February,
yeah.
in January.
What's he thinking, right?
It always seems to line up that time of year.
It kind of does. It kind of does. Well, hey, before we go any further, a couple housekeeping items. Number one, good news. The most recent edition of the Grow Omaha Construction Update by Brad Williams is now available. You can find that by going to the Grow Omaha page, which is just growomaha.com. So go to growomaha.com. On the navigation bar, you'll see shows. Click on that and then go down to construction update. And there it is. It's always great. Brad is so on top of what's going on, and it's your chance to see what's happening in the world. And then we have another piece of housekeeping. And in order to set the stage for this piece of housekeeping, Brian, you and I are of the same vintage. We're the same age. We grew up at the same time. When you were a kid, after school, were you like me and you watched the reruns of Happy Days on TV?
Yes, I did.
These happy days are yours and mine, happy. Okay, well, remember, who was the coolest character on Happy Days?
Well, the Fonz.
The Fonz.
Absolutely. Arthur
Fonzarelli, Fonzie, right? He was so cool. He was a 1950s guy, wore the leather jacket, drove the motorcycle. He was the Fonzie. It's almost like he was so cool he could make magic happen. But there were a couple episodes in Happy Days where Fonzie had to say he was wrong. I don't know if you remember this, but they're like, and he had, because he was so cool and never wrong, Fonzie had to say I was wrong. You remember that? Does that ring a bell?
Oh, I do.
Well, we at Grow Omaha have to we were wrong. We made a mistake on our newsletter this week. We said that the Mexican restaurant Romeo's was going to go into the former Tanner's space at 192nd and Q. Well, we got the wrong Mexican restaurant. It's really Julio's. Julio's is coming back to life. And not only are they going to 192nd and Q, they're going to go to 114th and Dodge. So Julio's, we apologize for being wrong. And Romeo's, we also apologize for being wrong. But it's Julio's going to 192nd and Q, not Romeo's.
And Jeff, you know what?
What?
The Fonz was still cool.
Thank you. You know, just because he was that W word doesn't mean that he was uncool there.
Correct.
And every media outlet gets an occasional mulligan for a mistake. And we'll try not to let another one of those slip through in 2022.
I think that'll happen. I don't think you'll have another mistake.
I think so, too. We'll be good. All right, let's go to our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com is where you find them online. 114th and Davenport is where you find them in person. But they, as the name would indicate, do mortgages, but not just mortgages. It doesn't matter whether it's FHA, VA, or, of course, conventional loans. They do all of that. It's January. It's snowy outside. So a lot of people think, I'll deal with the refinance and the looking for a new house in March. Don't wait. Every indication we have is that it's going to be another crazy year this year. So if you're thinking about buying a house, get your pre-approval letter from Eagle Mortgage now while they're not quite as crazy busy, and you'll have a nice head start because a lot of people are already starting to go out and look, even though it's snowing outside. At any rate, Eagle Mortgage takes good care of you. EagleMortgageCompany.com. All right, Brian, first thing on the docket. There was an interesting piece of news that came out of Lincoln this week. The state legislature formed this committee called Star Wars for short, and their purpose is to find a way to spend a lot of federal money that has come into the state's possession because of pandemic-related federal grants or whatever you want to call them. At any rate, one of the things they're doing is $200 million worth of water and recreation type projects. And the biggest of those projects that this committee has floated is a 4,000 acre lake that would be located, quote, between Omaha and Lincoln. The lake would be up to 35 feet deep, up to 7 miles long, which means it would be pretty thin and skinny. Well, I've been doing a little bit of sleuthing. I looked at the rendering of the lake, and then I looked at Google Maps, plus I talked to a couple people. From what I can tell, it appears as if this lake would be immediately west of Gretna, just down the bluff line from Gretna, east of the Platte River, a little bit north, just north of Highway 6, which is just north of Interstate 80. So basically, it would be a suburban Omaha, suburban Gretna type lake. But Brian, we bring this up for a couple of reasons. The renderings show a lot of construction around the lake. Of course, if you have a nice-sized lake like that, you're going to bring in a lot of adjacent real estate development. And the other reason why we bring it up is all the way back since the 1960s, there have been proposals for a large lake in that area. Now, this would pale in comparison to the proposals that involved damming the Platte River and flooding the city of Ashland and all that. This would not require a dam, and it would not flood Lake Ashland, but compared to the other lakes we have around here, it'd be very, very nice sized. So if you look at the strengths and weaknesses of Omaha, the metro area, when it comes to economic development, tourism, recreation, a large recreational lake where people could speedboat and water ski has always been mentioned. So this could be, if it happens, a real boost to recreation in the metro area.
Yes, there's been a long time. There's been leadership and attempts to get similar or type of recreational amenity in the area. And you talked about damming the Platte River, and I understand this one is not going to be damming the Platte River, which I think will a lot of people will appreciate. That it will create economic activity. Of course, as a real estate man and a development man, the development potential around it is going to be intriguing, and it'll be interesting to see who manages that project, who's the point person. So if it's coming out of Lincoln, does the NRD get involved, or as in some of those aspects, because the development potential might be different depending on who's the lead on it. But it will be a great addition if it happens. We'll see.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of money there, but this has been attempted in the past, and hopefully this has a little bit more power and legs to get it done.
Well, and anytime you're talking about digging a 7-mile hole in the ground along a river, you're going to raise the little hairs on the back of some environmentalist necks. But the fact that you are not damming the Platte makes it possible. I think if someone wanted to dam the Platte, it's not happening. I just don't think you can make that happen in today's environmental environment. Is it okay to say that?
I think it works. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Development needs to steer clear of environmental issues going forward. It's just that world is no longer.
Well, and Gretna is already booming, already is going to boom. I mean, someday Gretna will probably have 50,000 people in the city. That's a long ways away, but someday. And I think if you build this lake where I think it would go, it's only going to accelerate that. And your specialty in commercial real estate is Sarpy County development land. Well, this would technically be, if our calculations are correct, slightly barely in Sarpy County.
I think it would qualify as something that I could work on.
Yeah.
I'm not such a purist that I wouldn't go into Douglas County, but all things Sarpy County I'm very interested in, and this will be a lot of fun to follow the progress of this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if you were, because it looks like it's all like a lot of farmland in that river valley down there. So I'm sure some of the farmers who own land in that area right now who are listening are probably thinking, either A, I don't want to move, I'm happy where I am, or they're like, ching, ching, ching. The cash register is going off inside their brains. But we'll keep an eye on it. That could be a very, very exciting project. All right, let's talk a little bit about Heartwood Preserve, Brian. In this week's newsletter, Grow Omaha newsletter, and if you don't get the Grow Omaha newsletter, just send an email to news@Grow Omaha, and we can get you on that list. But on this week's newsletter, we talked about some progress at Heartwood Preserve. Of course, Heartwood Preserve is the $500 million project, which is on the old Boys Town West Farm and the old DeMarco Farm south of that. So west side of 144th, from the south side of West Dodge Expressway all the way to maybe a third or a half mile south of Pacific Street. At any rate, Applied Underwriters, which is the master developer of that entire project, sent out a press release saying, hey, here's our recent progress. And I'll just go through it real fast so everyone knows. The Applied Underwriters headquarters itself on the south side of Pacific Street coming along nicely and is expected to be occupied in early 2024. I know that seems like a long ways away, but that is a hell of a project, especially when you consider they're putting over 1,000 parking stalls underneath the two office buildings. Valmont Industries' new headquarters is open. It is completed. Nice Noddle Company's development project there accommodates up to 500 employees. Carson Group celebrated the completion of its 6-story headquarters, which is right there along Dodge. Right to the east of that, if you have been by there, you may have said, what's that 5-story building that's under construction? Well, that's Union Bank and Trust, looking great, and that's coming along nicely. Heartwood Estates will be upscale luxury housing on the south side of Pacific. Every single one of their available lots has been pre-sold. I think there are about 40 or 50 of them, if I remember correctly. And right now, the future homeowners are going through the permitting process. We should start to see the first house in that neighborhood go vertical in the spring. Lockwood Development took down a nice-sized chunk of land just south of that future Union Bank building, right along 144th Street. It'll be 7.5 acres. According to Applied Underwriters, that will be the development's first retail businesses. Trenton and I are hearing that that could include a lot of restaurant space. There's a bigger residential district in addition to just Heartwood Estates. That's north of Pacific. Grading has been completed. Infrastructure is coming along nicely. And this summer, the neighborhood's 234 houses and homes should begin construction. And then finally, Ovation Heartwood Preserve, which is an upscale, active lifestyle community. I believe that is the assisted living, senior living, independent living thing. Opening, it says winter of 22. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that means we are in the winter of 22 or December of 22. So they didn't specify that. But what I think all of this tells us, Brian, is that Heartwood is coming along. And while some pieces of it probably won't be completed for another 10, 15 years or more, there's quite a bit already that's got a lot of bit of momentum, and that will be a Class A development.
Yes, they've assembled some good partners in there. The retail will be in really good hands with Lockwood and Chip's group, so that's going to be done right. The true mixed use development, and all the elements are going to come together to have a nice synergy out there, and it's really nice to see the Class A office buildings go up, and not slow down with this temporary change in the office market with COVID and things of that issue, which we all believe is temporary. And so, I think they've got good partners, good ideas, and it's nice that the momentum is continuing on, and then it'll start getting that critical mass, and it'll finish out real nice.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your development news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. They know mortgages like nobody knows mortgages, and you can find them at eaglemortgagecompany.com. When we come back, Brian and I are going to welcome on John Haver. He's an executive with Senior Market Sales, and that is going to be our local business feature of the week. A lot of you have probably noticed the sign Senior Market Sales when you drive by their office building near 84th and Dodge, and you've wondered, what's that company? Today you will know. So stay with us. That and much more coming up on the show. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Brian Hartman substituting for Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha, brought to you by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals sitting here next to Brian Hartman from NAI NP Dodge. Brian is substituting for Trenton Magid, who is taking the weekend off. And right now, we want to thank D&M Roofing for being one of our key sponsors. Outstanding commercial and residential roofing services. You can find them online at dandmroofing.com. Well, Brian, every once in a while we like to do a business profile feature here on Grow Omaha. It allows our listeners to become familiar with some of the businesses that do amazing work in the metro area. And today, we're going to be talking about Senior Market Sales. And we have with us Senior Vice President at Senior Market Sales, John Haver. John, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Brian, for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be on the show.
It is good to have you here on the show. And I guess we'll ask you, I'll start off with the first question, and that is, why don't you give us the 30,000-foot overview? What is Senior Market Sales?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about Senior Market Sales. This is a great year for us. It's actually our 40th year in the business. We're celebrating that. So it's been a long history of the company, and we're located at 84th and Dodge. A lot of you have driven by the building there, that glass building on the northwest corner there, and what the heck goes on inside that building. And it's really, truly, a Senior Market Sales is that great American business success story that you hear a lot about with other businesses, but it really is true with us. I mean, if you look back 27 years ago, we had that 10 employees, corner of that building on one floor, and today, over that period of time, it's grown to over 550 employees across the country. It was family-owned business for a number of years. The Kleinberg family, Milt Kleinberg, owned the company. He brought in Jim Summers, who's our president, about 22 years ago, and they have just taken the company to a whole another level. And it's been great to see. Been great for Omaha. We probably have right around 250 of those 550 employees here in Omaha, and we loved being here for sure. So I could talk a little bit about what we do. It's because we always kind of wonder what happens inside those four walls. SMS is really one of the largest distributors of health and wealth solutions for the retirees. We have built a network of over 70,000 independent insurance brokers and agents. So, insurance agents, financial advisors. We have call centers. We have smaller agencies that are similar to Senior Market Sales, but they're just smaller. They don't have all the capabilities that we have, so they'll come to us. And what we're doing is providing a lot of service to those advisors so they can go out and work with consumers on health and wealth solutions. So, for example, Medicare, right? A lot of our surveys that we do, 70% plus of Americans don't really understand Medicare. And when they reach that age, they need advice. And whether you want to purchase a Medicare supplement at 65 or go into a Medicare Advantage or a prescription drug plan or dental, you need help. And we have networked and partnered with some of the best independent brokers out there in the country to go in and really help those consumers. So that's a big part of what we do. I mean, you think about the market, there's 10,000 plus people turning 65 every single day. And the demographics of that are going to continue for the next several years. So they need advice and they need that help. And along with that, the Medicare piece, because you got to take care of the health side first, and then you want to talk about the wealth piece, and that's really the retirement side. And so we have advisors that we partner with that work with consumers to make sure that they have that guaranteed income, that guarantee that they're not going to outlive their money. So we work with advisors that deal in life insurance, annuities, long-term care, investment management. We have a firm called Sequent Planning that does investment management. And so we try to cover all the angles. We also offer travel insurance. A lot of people today are not leaving home, not leaving Omaha to travel any longer without some sort of insurance, just based on everything that's been going on with changes in travel rules and restrictions. You never know what's going to happen, so you're buying a lot of that. So we do a lot of that piece of it. And so today we've expanded. We do business in all 50 states. We have 25-plus locations across the country. We have 11 different brands that we do business under. So it's not just Senior Market Sales. In fact, in Omaha, we have an office. We have a brand called Futurity First Insurance Group. They have an office here at 168th and Center in the Legacy Park there, right by the Lifetime Fitness. And Chris O'Connell and Dustin Formanek, our general managers out there, run an agency. And so we had a lot of different distribution channels. So we're very diversified in product, which I talked about, and very diversified in the way in which we go to market with the different folks that we have.
But John, I want to clarify one thing before I turn it back over to Brian. Are you a carrier at all, or do you only arrange things with other carriers for the companies you serve?
Yeah, great question. So we're not an insurance carrier. We represent the best insurance companies in the country. So we have about 75 different carriers, insurance companies that we represent, and we bring those carriers and those products and those services to the 70,000 independent brokers. So we're kind of in the middle of that, and we're kind of that marketing arm for those insurance companies.
Jeff, I've known John for a lot of years. I've been fortunate to know him for many years growing up in Omaha, and so the company I know it benefits from his leadership greatly. As I've done, just did a little research before today, I noticed a lot of comments and a lot of research showed about John about the really good culture that you have at your office. And so could you speak to a little bit about how you kind of create the culture you have there for your employees, and then also maybe touch a little bit on what you see the future is for SMS sales?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad that came up, because I will tell you that if you think about one thing that makes Senior Market Sales unique, it is our people and it's our culture. And it's extremely important to us. We, as I mentioned before, we were a family-owned company for a number of years. That changed a little while ago when we were acquired by a larger company. But we protect our culture at all costs, right? It's really important to us. It's a very family-oriented business. The people are the most important part of what makes Senior Market Sales great. It's always about, for us, we always do what we say we're going to do. And that's what makes us unique and our culture unique, is that we do that. And that's what we're known for in our business. We have this motto at Senior Market Sales. It's successful people do those things that failures refuse to do. And we live that. Some people say it, but we actually live that. Our employees live that. And we have great employees that come to work every day and will do whatever it takes to get done. And in our business, it's a service business. We are serving our independent brokers, and we have to do a great job every day. And with that mentality, it sounds very simple, right? It's very simple. It's hard to do, but we execute on that, which then creates that great culture for us. And that's, again, very, very important to us. And having the ability to hire folks in Omaha, that work ethic that comes from that Midwestern, Omaha group, it's just it's really the difference maker for us. And we have really enjoyed that.
John, we're gonna have you stick around, if you don't mind, to our next segment, because I want to ask you a little bit about some staffing and finding talent and all that sort of thing. So that's John Haver that you're hearing with Senior Market Sales. We're going to break for the news, and then when we come back, we're going to ask John a couple things about human resources and talent. We also have the construction, or rather the real estate update from Noddle Companies. At any rate, you're listening to Jeff Beals and Brian Hartman in for Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beal sitting next to Brian Hartman from NAI NP Dodge, substituting for Trenton Magid. We're also brought to you by D&M Roofing, D&Mroofing.com. It is the commercial real estate development spotlight brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies is an Omaha-based real estate developer doing projects all over the country, but most importantly, quite a few very nice ones here in the Omaha area. Steel Ridge in the Papillion-Gretna area, River's Edge in Council Bluffs. You got the University of Nebraska Medical Center, Nebraska Medicine Medical Campus out by Village Point, the Builders District downtown, and of course, you may have heard of one of their projects known as Aksarben Village. At any rate, yet another project are some row houses near 38th and Dewey in the Med Center area, and just checked out that project a few days ago. It is looking great, topped out, mostly enclosed. Quite a bit of construction work still to go, but that is looking really good. Blends in beautifully with a lot of those old historic mansions there. It's kind of the Blackstone neighborhood, kind of the Med Center neighborhood. You might call it Midtown. It's 38th and Dewey, and it's really, really nice. And so when the weather turns, which it looks like early next week, we're going to have maybe a close to 50-degree day, and you're in that area, take a walk and check out those row houses brought to you by Noddle Companies. Noddle Companies, you can find out more appropriately at noddlecompanies.com. Well, Brian, we have our friend John Haver here from Senior Market Sales. And John, we like to ask local executives when they're here for their opinions on the local talent market. We have the lowest unemployment of any state. Omaha's got about the lowest unemployment, I think, of any of the 100 largest metro areas. How hard is it? And what are you guys doing to attract talent to your company?
Right. That's a great question. And it's a business issue for us, for sure. You said all the things about the low unemployment rate here in town. We want to grow in Omaha. We want to hire in Omaha. We have space in our building there to continue to hire folks. We just got done with our 2022 business planning, and there's just pages and pages of new hires that we're looking to make. And it's certainly a struggle. We are pulling out all the stops to try to find talent. I say earlier, I alluded to the fact we were recently purchased by a larger company about 16 months ago, and so we're leveraging their tools, the way in which they go about doing things. We are just leveraging every piece and part of recruiting that we can think of to bring people in, whether it's referral bonuses to bringing folks in and getting referrals from our employees, or just doing the traditional methods of trying to find those folks.
John, I know you're not running for mayor or anything, but what do you think, because we kind of along those lines, what do you think Omaha as a community can do to attract more population to fill some of those employment roles?
Yeah, I think that, and how do you know I'm not running for mayor?
I would love if you ran for mayor.
No, I think it gets...
Is that an announcement?
I'd vote for you.
There's two.
Yeah.
Okay, start from there.
You know my history. I probably couldn't. No, I think that, I think we still got to get the word out more about Omaha and what all the great city that we have here and the great amenities that the city offers. It's the best, big, small town, I think, in the country. I get a chance to travel all over the country, and I always love coming back home. And it's because Omaha's got a great feel, and it's just when people do come here and see what it has to offer, I think that they like it, and they can see themselves, having growing a family here and getting the education for their kids. And so I think we've promoted more about that. There's great companies in Omaha that offer a lot of opportunities. So I think that more focus on highlighting the great parts of Omaha.
I think we continue to do what we're doing as a city and communicating the quality of life and the arts and the technology scene and the strong Fortune 100 businesses. And if we continue to get that word out, I think that'll help our businesses, including SMS Sales, continue to grow and make acquisitions and make Omaha a great city.
All right. Well, John, we really appreciate you joining us this morning. And we appreciate everything you and your colleagues are doing at Senior Market Sales to boost the economy here and make an Omaha community even better. So thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's John Haver, Senior Vice President at Senior Market Sales. We're going to take our final break of the hour. And when we come back, we have the Turner Construction Lightning Round. I'm looking at the list. A lot of things, new restaurants, new retailer. We're even going to talk about a spicy chicken concept coming to Omaha. So you don't want to miss any. You don't want to miss any of that. It's going to be great. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Brian Hartman substituting for Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha. It's brought to you, as always, by D&M Roofing and NAI NP Dodge. And we'll be back right after this on News Radio 1110 KFAB. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals sitting here with Brian Hartman, who is from NAI NP Dodge and substituting for our friend Trenton Magid, who has the weekend off. And we are going to go straight into our lightning round. The lightning round is when we talk about a lot of things in a very short period of time, and it is brought to you by Turner Construction. I was at Shadow Lake Town Center in Papillion this week, and right there on the east side of Shadow Lake Town Center was this construction project, big Turner Construction banner around the fence, and it's going to be a new branch office for Chase Bank. Turner is building those Chase Bank branches all over the place. There was one that opened recently near 132nd and Center, another one in Exarban Village. They're popping up all over the place. And that's just one example of the projects that Turner Construction does. And they could go a lot bigger than that. I mean, you may have heard of the Sarpy County Data Center, which is a multi-billion-dollar project along Highway 50 in, of course, Sarpy County, but also interior build-outs, small buildings. So it doesn't matter how big or small your company is or your construction project is, Turner Construction will take good care of you. They're about the largest construction company in the entire country, but yet here in Omaha, they behave like a small contractor and really get to know you personally and do an outstanding job. So Turner Construction, thanks to them for bringing this lightning round to you. All right, Brian, let's get into it. You like spicy food?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, I can't. Is his microphone on? Oh, there we go. Okay. I can't
Should
get
I
enough
repeat
spicy
that?
food.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
He said. He
Yes,
said.
he said yes.
He said, "Oh yes, I do." Anyway, Dave's Hot Chicken. Dave's Hot Chicken. It's a concept out of Los Angeles, fast casual, spicy chicken sort of place. They announced a new franchise deal to open 15 locations in Omaha, Kansas City, and Lincoln. They're looking for 2,500 square foot end cap bays or freestanding. They love to have the drive-throughs. Who doesn't these days? And by the way, Dave's Hot Chicken, their spice ranges from no spice to Reaper. I'm thinking I would be on the spicy side of midpoint, but not quite to Reaper, Brian.
I haven't, I haven't gone to the Reaper end of things in a while with chicken wings or anything. I might have outgrown that.
Well, that's just it. You know, if you go to the Reaper end, sometimes you can't function the next day. Isla Del Mar, outstanding Mexican seafood restaurant, 36th Street, South Omaha. They're expanding, actually. And they're going to open up in the former Aldi space, which is right by Dave & Buster's and Planet Fitness near 132nd. The old Aldi space by Dave & Buster's and Planet Fitness near 132nd and West Center Road. There are a lot of West Omahans who are excited about that place. I went to that Isla Del Mar restaurant. I've only been there one time just because I don't get down to 36th and Q very often, but holy cow. Or I should say, holy shrimp and scallop and crab leg. That is a good place. So excited to get them out at West Omaha. Then Get Real Sandwiches. Don't know much about it, but they have a banner and a posting for applying for a liquor license at 3901 Farnham Street. So, Brian, if you can picture the Blackstone district, there's a place called Butterfish, which very good sushi, by the way. They're in the same building. They kind of share the same door. You go in the door, then you can turn right to Butterfish. You go turn left for this Get Real Sandwiches place. Looks like it still has a ways to go. I looked in the window, and they're still very much doing some build-out construction. So I would imagine at least a couple months before they'd probably open. But it looks like I can't wait to try it. And then Wall to Wall, which is a new wine, beer, and spirit store. This is a concept that Hy-Vee has created. And when you go to they've opened in Shadow Lake Town Center. Second time I've mentioned Shadow Lake in this segment. That's in Papillion near 72nd and Highway 370. And Brian, as a Sarpy County specialist, loves it when we talk about Papillion. But they're open there. They're going to also have one at 132nd and Center. Anyway, sorry about that. I kicked Brian's foot inadvertently. And they are a liquor superstore. You go in there, and from what I can tell, this is only their second one. They opened one in Hy-Vee's hometown of Des Moines, Iowa, and then they have this one. But I think it'll do pretty well. I mean, it's big, and if you like to have beer or spirits, you'll find it there.
It's nice to see Hy-Vee is really experimenting with some different things and forward thinking with the with their cafes, with the Wahlbergs concept going in on their Hy-Vee cafes, and then this. So they're definitely looking to be innovative and seeing what works in a changing market.
I agree with you, and I think that also applies to their fast and fresh convenience store concepts. Those have a little restaurant in them, and it's actually pretty good food that it's restaurant quality, not necessarily gas station quality. So I agree with you. They're doing some pretty clever stuff. All right. Construction has started on the MD West 1 building on the west side of that Avenue 1 area, 192nd south side of West Dodge Road. That'll be a one-story medical office building. If you drive by there, you'll notice the steel structure is going up and partly done in that area. So that's coming along pretty nicely. And then, Brian, have you had a chance to go into the Kimpton Cottonwood Hotel, the old Blackstone Hotel, since it opened about a year ago?
I have not, and I can't wait to do it. But I've had a couple of opportunities, but it just hasn't worked out.
It's beautiful.
That's
really
what I
is. Yeah, and we got a cool little bit of affirmation for that project. The Kimpton Cottonwood Hotel, formerly known as the Blackstone Hotel, the namesake of that district and neighborhood at 36th and Farnham, was named an award winner in the Building Design Construction 2021 Reconstruction Awards. There were 18 winning projects that were honored for Best in Reconstruction, Adaptive Reuse, Historic Preservation. And so this was reported by Omaha's own Leo A. Daly architecture firm, which did that project for the owners. And Leo A. Daly talked about transforming the hotel from its previous use as a commercial office back to the grandeur of its heyday in the roaring 1920s, when it was known as the premier stop-off between San Francisco and Chicago. And regular listeners know that the Blackstone is famous for where the Reuben sandwich was invented, and Trenton Magid's great-grandfather owning the place. So with that, the music is playing. Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's always so much fun.
Always good to have our friend Brian on the show with us. That's it for this week. I'm Jeff Beals. You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Turner Construction, D&M Roofing, and NAI NP Dodge. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.